Good evening, and this is February 15th, 2022. This is a special meeting of the Cupertino City Council. It is 5:30 p.m., and we are holding this special meeting as a workshop prior to our regularly scheduled meeting at 6:45 p.m. this evening. Our city clerk is logging in online right now, and so I'll go ahead and conduct our roll call. Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Way.
Here.
Councilmember Willie.
Here.
Vice Mayor Chow.
Here.
And I'm here, I'm Mayor Paul. And so on our special meeting agenda for this evening, we only have one item. It is a workshop on committees and commissions. And I believe that Katie Nomura, our Deputy City Manager, is here to provide the staff presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. I'm here to present the Commissions and Committees presentation. I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Great. And so this is very similar to what everyone saw on December 7th when we had the study session at that time. So I'll try to go more quickly through some of the background information. Here are the topics for this evening. Many of these items came up as part of past work program items. We have 10 current commissions and a design review committee that is a subcommittee of Planning Commission. We have 6 committees. And here's a sampling of what some other cities have in comparison to where Cupertino lands. We're near the top for commissions and committees. When you look at commissions only, we come in third, but we tie for third with 2 other cities. And then in committees, we come in second. And this does not include ad hoc committees. And so some of the kind of study issues we have for this evening are to talk about membership requirements. Generally speaking, we do have a residency requirement for our members of our commissions. However, Planning Commission and TIC specify that they must be a qualified elector, which is different than the other commissions. So a qualified elector means they're 18 years old, they're a resident and a US citizen. So it's just a matter of, would the council desire to change that to just be a resident requirement for consistency? Traffic and transportation. 3 other cities have complete streets commissions, 5 have bike ped commissions, 3 have other transportation related commissions. The council did consider expanding the bike ped commission to a complete streets commission in June of 2020. That did not pass. And now we're coming back to ask the council, would you like to pursue a transportation commission, complete streets commission, or continue as is with the bike ped commission, just have further direction from council on that. Bike ped does currently consider multiple modes of transportation to consider options holistically as if they were a complete streets commission. For housing, it has been brought up that perhaps it's desirable to the council to expand the scope to include social services. One note we do have is that the county provides social services for our community. There is, however, a human services grant funding program that the city does administer, and the Housing Commission does make recommendations to that program and does support that program. So that is part of their existing functions. To expand beyond this grant funding program and to get into other social services, it would require significant resources and staff time. And so we are looking to the council for further direction regarding if they would like us to pursue anything different with the Housing Commission. Senior services, 6 other cities have a senior commission. Cupertino did used to have a senior commission, however, it was dissolved in 2009 due to overlapping functions with the Senior Advisory Council. And it was revisited in November 2018, and council decided to continue the partnership with the Senior Advisory Council with updates to the Parks and Rec Commission. Fine Arts name change, just an update. This is part of the work program. They are working on an ordinance for the name change to be brought before the council this fiscal year. Economic Development Committee, this is also being researched. 2 other cities have similar committees and 2 have similar commissions. We're conducting research and we hope to present that to council in April. Fiscal Strategic Plan Committee. This item has made a lot of progress, and they are actually recommending, due to increased workload for the audit committee due to the internal audit function, they're actually considering converting almost the Fiscal Strategic Plan Committee to a finance committee. And it would have the following functions. You'll notice that 3 of those functions, B, C, and D, would be transferred from the audit committee. This is in an effort to balance workload. Right now, the audit committee has quite a lot to go through, and this might help given that currently Fiscal Strategic Plan Committee doesn't meet as often, so maybe there could be some balancing there. So we are interested in any council feedback on this. So their functions are proposed to be review monthly report of receipts, disbursements, and fund balances, quarterly treasurers, investments, reports, review budget format, review city investment policies, the annual fee schedule update, and the annual fiscal forecast update. So this is being prepared. This is not in final form yet, but it is being prepared for the audit committee's recommendation to council, then also for council's consideration this fiscal year. At the ERC, we found that no other cities have kind of this function as a commission or committee, but we did bring the discussion to the ERC last year, and they had some suggestions. One of them was to roll the environmental review duties into the planning commission. So you could either dissolve the ERC or change the scope. The purpose of that would be to try and reduce any perception of hindrance on due process. But as if you have questions on that, our city attorney can speak to it. Another idea was to expand the scope to act in an advocacy capacity and provide education and engagement regarding environmental review concerns and CEQA issues, and to be more of an engagement and education piece. And there was another suggestion to change the composition of the ERC to address the potential perceived conflict issues. So that could be removing staff from the ERC. Not that it's really a conflict of interest, but it does create an awkward situation where staff is preparing a recommendation and then they're also on the ERC as a voting member. So perhaps removing staff as actual members and really just supporting roles. And then also whether or not to have the composition be strictly a subcommittee of the council, so 2 council members, or whether to have it perhaps a subcommittee of the planning commission where they would have 2 planning commissioners. But right now, as mentioned in the staff report, they just need to be careful not to have any kind of preconceived notion of what their merits are of the project. And so we're looking for direction from the council on this piece. The impact of adding commissions, there is staff time involved. Here's a kind of a sampling of other the existing commissions and committees and how much staff time is involved. Additionally, the clerk's office spends over 100 hours on orientations, trainings, agendas, and noticing. So we would just love to hear what the council has for direction as you see fit. And in particular, we are looking for whether or not qualified elector requirements should be changed to residency requirements for consistency. Would the council like to pursue a transportation commission? I suppose it could also be traffic commission, complete streets commission, or continue as is with bike ped. Does council have further direction regarding the housing commission? And what approach would the council like to take with the ERC? And with that, that concludes the presentation. I'm here for any questions. Oh, Mr. Mayor, I think you might be muted.
Oh, thank you very much. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up to members of the public right now that have comments. I see that our first member of the public with a hand raised is Jenny's Galaxy Tab. And so I'll remind our members of the public that you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please have your hand raised by the time that the first speaker is completed speaking. And if you do, I will call on you for public comment on this item. And so, Jenny, please feel free to begin.
Thank you, Mayor Darcy. Can you all hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Okay, yeah, my Galaxy Tab just I did download and change my name. Okay, well, the fun with Zoom. Anyway, that was a really good discussion about our current committees. And I think at this point, my main concern is that we just leave the ERC and the DRC alone. I really wouldn't want them folded into the Planning Commission. We've had ERC and DRC since I've been coming to the city meetings, which was 2001 after we annexed. And they have done a lot of good work over the years. We haven't had as many meetings now, but there have been many, many meetings in the past. I mean, what are we looking back 21 years? So they may be unique to Cupertino, but to me, with the advent of SB 9, SB 10, the housing bills, people trying to get rid of environmental issues, CEQA, I really think the ERC and the DRC are very, very important. Particularly ERC with the bedlam that's going on with the housing bills, SB 9 and SB 10, absolute chaos across the state, I predict. I have had so many discussions with friends, neighbors, people in other states about 9 and 10. Similar bills are trying to get passed in Washington state. The DRC is very important too, because SB 9 and 10 are trying to change how we build things in Cupertino. And I think that DRC and ERC are very, very important voices of local control. The state does not want the public to voice their opinions about what is happening with these bills and other things, trying to get rid of environmental review oversight. And I feel all the more necessary to keep ERC, DRC, keep the staff there, keep the elected members there, have public. They've worked fine for 21 years. And frankly, at this point, I have never seen such an imminent threat to our state as going on with the housing bills, attempt to take over local control, and they would just love to get rid of ERC and DRC. No way, no way. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our remaining speakers are Jean Bedord, Govin T., Lisa Warren, and Peggy Griffin. Welcome, Jean. And I see that, okay, so welcome, Jean.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Paul and council members. My name is Jean Bedord, and I am a longtime Cupertino resident. I am expressing my concern with the sheer amount of staff time that is being spent on commissions and committees. First of all, Cupertino has more commissions than other cities of comparable size and complexity. Why? This seems very inefficient. Secondly, according to the staff report, there are 4,552 hours of work devoted to commissions and committees. That's a lot of hours. This work takes away from the day-to-day service to the public, as well as the overly ambitious city work plan. While I can understand the number of hours necessary for the Planning Commission and Parks and Recreation, I am baffled by the 400 hours for the Legislative Review Committee. In addition to significant staff time, there's also a $72,000 contract for a paid lobbyist. Yet this committee does not appear to be effective in influencing our local representatives in Sacramento. As a small city, shouldn't council be spending time in working with other jurisdictions rather than generating letters which are readily ignored? Please consider streamlining the commissions and committees and letting our staff do their day-to-day job. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Jean. Next, we have Govin T. Welcome, Govin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and the Council and City Management. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking here in person, as a housing commissioner. I wanted to figure out whether it's possible for the Housing Commission to also have responsibility in terms of reviewing some of the housing projects which are coming with ELI and VLI housing units. We are unable to be effective in terms of advising the council or the Planning Commission in terms of ELI and VLI production. So I would like you to cover whether it's possible for us to get a chance to review the new housing projects which are coming up, only the housing projects, especially in terms of ELI and VLI production. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Govind. Next, we have Lisa Warren. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello, thank you. So I would like to agree with the previous speaker that keeping DRC and ERC is really important, is only going to become more important. As was stated, DRC was used in years past very effectively, in my opinion. I attended several of them. I have shown concern recently that they don't get enough put onto agendas and have enough meetings. I think there's things that should be addressed by them being the DRC. And I also think both those committees should actually have some residents at large involved on a regular basis, not just people that pop in. I think that's worth considering. And I just want to point out beyond that, that I'm not agreeing with another previous speaker. It seemed like some of the comments, and maybe I misinterpreted them, but some of the comments made it sound like it doesn't matter if there's committees and commissions that are valuable to some residents. It's you know, I may find some committees and commissions not as valuable as others, but that doesn't mean there's not other people in the community that find them more important than the ones I do. So I just didn't like the tone, I guess, in the speaker comments. So please keep DRC and ERC. I have more comments, but really that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Our next speaker is Peggy Griffin. Welcome, Peggy.
Good evening, council and staff. A couple things. I agree that the ERC and the DRC should be kept. I think that removing staff from the ERC is an excellent idea. It just for appearances and also for procedural. Also, the creating a fiscal strategic plan committee, I think that the audit committee is doing a great job, but they need to meet every month and have the regular monthly reports that they're supposed to receive and review be given to them so that they can review. An audit committee is an audit, and that way you don't have any issue of who covers what. And if you took it to another committee, what would the audit committee do? What would be left? So I just think that they need to meet once a month and review the reports. The ERC, I said, remove staff. Planning, I think still needs to be a citizen. If you're talking land use, you need to be a citizen. My concern with, there was a mention of transportation. There is the Bike Ped Commission, and we do have transportation for cars, but we also have Safe Routes to School that does a lot of the stuff that Bike Ped does, and it doesn't feed into Bike Ped. So maybe Safe Routes to School should be considered a committee and feed into Bike Ped so that you get some kind of overlap and review and public comment. With transportation, if you want someone focused on roads, maybe it should be a committee of, or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, too many committees, then you start having, or commissions, you start having, whose territory is it? And that's my concern, particularly with the example of Bike Ped and Safe Routes to School. Anyway, and I appreciate the report, and I appreciate the council for reviewing this and looking at it. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Peggy. And that is the end of our public speakers on this item. And so let's bring it back to council. I think that the best structure here would be to have a discussion. So with a time check, it's 5:50 right now. So I think it would be best if we try to wrap this into 45 minutes, including any direction and follow up with the motion that we provide to staff here. So I'd be happy to kick us off in the absence of hands so far. I'm going to go ahead and just make a couple of requests. I wanted to see us have a charter for our Economic Development Committee. So I don't think that it's really necessary to do any more follow-up on it. I think we should just get, a description of the activity done. I think we should have a couple of people from council. We should interview for a few members of our community, and we should have a proper Economic Development Committee. I think for the Environmental Review Committee, the point was well taken. I was thinking that perhaps it made sense to make it 2 members of council, 1 member of planning, and a couple of members of the staff. But if staff itself is saying that it would be advisable not to, be on the committee itself, then I think we could reform it. It's already under the municipal code with 2 members of council, a member of planning. So that's environmental review. And, I agree with the general ideas of, leaving design review committee alone. Environmental review committee is there. And I think that would just require the tweak that I discussed. Fiscal strategic committee, I don't think we should have it. I think that economic development committee and audit committee already covers what fiscal strategic tried to do previously. And I don't want to get into the, kind of guessing game of precisely what fiscal strategic was doing previously, because no one really knows. It wasn't written down anywhere. And then with regard to the audit functions, a lot of these requirements are codified in our municipal code. And so those fall properly under audit committee. I do agree with the member of the public who stated that, just have audit committee do what it's supposed to do. And that's already described. So I don't see that we need to break it out. I'm on the audit committee. I've been on the audit committee for multiple years in the past. And I think that that would be certainly the proper thing to do. I do want to speak to one comment from a member of the public with regard to the Legislative Review Committee. I completely disagree with the idea that the work has gone to waste. I think, in fact, that it's probably some of the finest work coming out of this community. And you actually have people, considering substantive issues. It is a lot of work, but it also makes it clear that we are doing our jobs. We're doing our diligence. And if you're not looking for a rubber stamp kind of representation, in my opinion, and in my 7+ years of elected office, and from everything I've seen and done, I think it's the finest example that we have in Cupertino that our elected officials are doing their work. So I'll go ahead and bring this over to other council members at this time. And so I'll go through a round of comments or questions and then bring it back. I would like to bring forward a motion. So I'll take some notes on what people are mentioning and try to create an omnibus motion after a round of comments. So the order I have right now is Vice Mayor Chow, Councilmember Moore, and Councilmember Willie. We'll start with Vice Mayor Chow.
Okay, yeah. First of all, any number of hours spent working with the commission are the hours spent engaging the community. Who is the boss of the council? So those hours are the most essential hours that the staff spend to find out what the community wants. If anyone has any idea thinking that this is a waste, I doubt that who are they working for? We are working for the residents. And these commission members volunteer their time to help us to engage them so that we don't have to scramble when we have a new project. So we have a continued engagement. And these are essential to the city. As for housing commission, it has been very underutilized, and I think I did propose that they could expand to also include social services. The reason is specifically because we don't do social services. We rely on the county. But how would the residents know where to get the resource when the city doesn't even do that? Then if Housing Commission also does that, that will be a window for the citizens to find out what services are there provided by either the county or the numerous number of nonprofits. So this is a place people can come and say, I have this issue, I have this mental problem, I have this family members who need help. How do I get it? If we don't have that, right now they don't have a place where they can even go in the city. So that's why I think Housing and Social Services Commission provide that place where people can come and ask for help. And then I would also like to seek library to also consider adding specifically community engagement, because with every project we keep saying, how come we are not reaching out? How come we didn't get enough people? If we have a commission, but then we are doing ad hoc with every project starts from scratch to design a plan. So why don't we have a commission that has an overview plan? And then next time we have a project, we have established the people who know that what we have done before, and then that will help us with the engagement. And therefore, transportation, I think that should be merged with planning commission. Palo Alto has planning and transportation. I think Mountain View also. It's not suitable with bike and ped. It's a conflict of interest, in fact, and also transportation include the mass transit too, light rail. Those are not within the purview of bike ped. And for finance, I see audit, financial and strategy and economic development. Three things have overlapping functions. I just spoke to a Palo Alto council member. They have a long-term budget and 5-year of CIP plan, including an idea of how much they can pay for these projects. Right now, the city doesn't have anyone who is doing that. Every year we are presented with 1-year CIP plan. We have no idea what would be the project coming for next 2, 3, 5 years, and what's our budget, can we afford those? And I think we really need someone who does the long-term planning. So therefore, I envision the financial strategy or maybe finance committee would do not only would do all this long-term planning. And then when I asked about economic development, the Palo Alto council member told me that falls under finance committee, because economic development is basically just to make sure the city has good long-term financial future. So those two actually should be combined. And then their finance committee also review, for example, if council works on transient occupancy tax, business tax, the finance committee work out the details if the council direct them to do so. Anything related, including utility fees, anything that generate revenue for the council, is the finance committee advise the council on that. So that's something I hope that we consider, maybe a split of function between 2 committees that's focused on finance, not 3. But then we do need to include long-term financial planning in there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor Chow. And next we have Councilmember Moore.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Paul. I do agree with putting transportation with the Planning Commission. With regards to the Environmental Review Committee, the staff report kind of misrepresents what went on in the meeting where the role of the ERC was discussed. So I was advocating as a member of the City Council, advocating for an increased scope and role for the ERC, whereas the staff members were looking to either dissolve it or remove the staff members off of it. So I want to clarify that. And with regards to increasing the scope, it was so that we could look at issues such as Lehigh, or if there were large developments outside of the city that would impact our residents, that we would be able to do that as well. And I do think it does have a very important mission, and reviewing the initial study gives the public the first chance to comment on it when those environmental documents are being initiated, and that's the right time for the public to start getting involved. With regards to the Fiscal Strategic Plan Committee, I'm a little surprised that staff is planning to make changes to the audit committee. I completely disagree with this. I don't understand how they were tasked with that at this point. The audit committee itself was not informed about this, so I'm very bothered with it. And the items in that item A, for instance, that would be taken away from the audit committee, review the monthly reports of receipts, disbursements, and fund balances. The audit committee has been asking for it. One of the problems with the audit committee is that they have not been meeting as often as they should, and I don't think that we should split into 3 different committees for studying, having the Fiscal Strategic Plan Committee, the Audit Committee, and then also the Economic Development Committee, which I totally agree needs to be codified and work out what we're going to be using that committee for. So I think I'll leave it with that. So I do want to see the fiscal strategic plan committee dissolved and not take away from the audit committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore. Next, we have Councilmember Willie.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that we have this to discuss tonight. I think the PowerPoint was pretty well organized, makes it a little easier for us. So with that, I'd like to say that I find the commissions, committees, the resident volunteers, important link to our community. Staff is good at what they do, and they aren't residents of the community. And those thoughts about what way a particular project should be done or should include or not include, it's not coming from a community perspective. And hopefully our commissions are bringing that to the table before it comes to the city council. So I'd also like to say that the number of hours that our community is willing to volunteer their time, and compare that with the amount of staff time that's needed to help bring all of it together in an organized fashion for a noticed meeting where other community members can come and talk. To me, that is pretty darn important. And so, okay, I'll leave off on that and talk about the commissions themselves. I think the Housing Commission clearly, and I've voiced this on those nights, like Canyon View, Bat Brothers, Westport, the type of input, the type of connection with the community that the Housing Commission has at their disposal that we miss out on when they're not included in these project reviews. And I find it disappointing that I don't have the Housing Commission to look to. And what did they think about it? Whether it's the veranda project or the marina that'll be coming to us. Is the developer's amount of BMR appropriate? Is the type of division of that BMR what the community would want? And for us not to have that, maybe it is important to have it bundled together like at Westport. But the Housing Commission can look to the community and decide if that really is appropriate or not. So I would really like to see the Housing Commission be given more of an important role on housing projects. And I hope we give that direction to staff tonight. For the Transportation Committee, from day one, I've always been concerned about the congestion in Cupertino. Well, we've had a pandemic for well over 2 years now. And so traffic hasn't been the issue that it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I used to be going up and down De Anza Boulevard, inching along. And so one of the work plan items is a traffic congestion heat map, which staff really has never been able to do because of the pandemic. But a transportation and congestion type committee, we're tonight going to be looking at the Stevens Creek corridor study. Having a commission that did some advanced groundwork for it would be beneficial. Let them kind of look at the community, the bus ridership, where the riders getting on, getting off. What's optimum for our community? Does the bus come in at one end and doesn't stop, or maybe only has one stop and leaves our community? Are we to ask those questions when it comes to us? I think a transportation congestion committee or commission would be a benefit. We may not want to do it now. We don't want to do things rushed, but think about it. If we put these questions to the Planning Commission and see how well they're able to present those in the future, then maybe it'd be appropriate to say, gee whiz, is it taking them away from the general plan, the heart of the city, the impacts of those types? So I would hope that tonight we would go ahead and give some of that direction. The Housing Commission, planning, start looking into traffic and congestion, things of that nature. And I do like the comments so far from all the council. It's clear to me that this council values our commissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Willie. Next, we have Councilmember Way.
Thank you, Mayor Paul, and I'm really happy that I think our council is very, we do value our citizens' input, and even from the start with the report, we do have more commissions and committees than a lot of other cities, so we are getting a lot of input from our residents, and I think we're doing very well in that area. So I just want to point out two things. This council is very conscientious, and we really value a lot of perspectives, but we do need to watch out for our staff's ability to handle the hours. So to gradually maybe add more responsibility to the current commissions and committees instead of establishing new ones, I think might be a good route to go to. And second is I'm very concerned about the environmental review committees that our city attorney's opinions about the conflict of interest issues with the planning commissioner and city council members serving on the ERC prior to projects coming to the planning commission and the city council, because the commissioner and the council members have to be really careful in not saying that express definite opinions. So I would like our city attorney to weigh in on this. I think that's a great commission to have, but maybe we could, listen to what Chris has to say and be really cautious on moving that, because we really don't want, when it comes to council and somebody said this council member cannot make a decision because it's already being expressed, I'm just really concerned about that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Councilmember Way. And let me refer that question to our city attorney, Chris Jensen. So Chris, with regard to that concern, is there a way to alleviate it? Or would you like to otherwise address Councilmember Way's question?
Yeah, no, it's a good question to ask. So because, applicants seeking an adjudicatory, decision from council are entitled to due process, there are limits to what council can say in advance of when a project is considered in a public hearing. And I believe that's the concern that Councilmember Way is raising. And it's something to be mindful of because, you know, for example, a council member serving on the ERC would have to separate the decision in front of the ERC, which is, you know, whether an EIR is required or an initial study is adequate, from the merits of the project. As long as that distinction is honored, and you know, there's discipline from both the council members and planning commissioners that would serve on the committee, then we can avoid legal concerns. It is a potential concern. It can be mitigated as long as you know, there's, you know, adequate training for the committee members and discipline in hearing matters that come before them.
Great, thank you very much, Chris. So let me visit with Councilmember Moore and Vice Mayor Chow briefly. Can I bring a motion at this point prior to your further comments? I would be basing this upon our first round of comments that I heard. Or is there something that you would like to say before I provide that motion? Let's start with Councilmember Moore, and just stick with my question for now.
Just with your question for bringing a motion forward or not? Or,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, anything that you need to say before I bring forward a motion?
Okay, thank you. I would like to comment. I have served as the chair of the Environmental Review Committee since the start of 2019. So that was 2 years chairing it as a planning commissioner, and then now as a council member. I initiated the training session that would be held. It was the first time that training was provided to Environmental Review Committee members, and it went very well. And then it was further presented to the Planning Commission, and Council Member Willie and the Vice Mayor did attend in person for that. And I've never had to recuse myself from any of the decisions which came to the Planning Commission or the Council after serving on the ERC, and also for my own enrichment. I'm halfway through a 3-month CEQA EIR course, which takes about 8 to 10 hours per week of study. There are plenty of materials for the ERC members to look through to make sure that they are performing their tasks to the letter of the law within our municipal code. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Moore. And Vice Mayor Chow, I'll ask you the same question. Prior to my bringing a motion, is there anything that you need to state in order to inform that motion? Otherwise, I'd like to bring the motion and we can.
I would like to comment first.
Okay,
So
sure.
regarding, it seems we also have, we have 3 commission that have similar functions, finance. We have 2 that's similar, sustainability and ERC. They are both for environment. So I understand the desire to be able to advocate for issues like Lehigh and other environmental issues. Then wouldn't that fall under Sustainability Commission? And then it seems ERC would functionality more fall under as a subcommittee of planning. Then I think any council can form a subcommittee and planning commission can form a subcommittee, and subcommittee make a recommendation to the planning commission. Then there won't be the legal ambiguity there. So I'm just wondering, could we just maybe have the sustainability advocate for EIR issue, environmental issue, Lehigh issue? Would that work?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring forward the motion that I have, and then Councilmember Moore, you can go ahead. I mean, I'm detecting some discussion happening here, so let me go ahead and bring this forward, and then we can tailor it if necessary, following further discussion. So my motion is that I move that the city council direct staff to, one, prepare a proposed codification of the Economic Development Committee in the Municipal Code with membership comprised of 2 members of the city council and 3 members from the community representing retail, hospitality, and the technology industry. 2, prepare a modification to the municipal code regarding the Environmental Review Committee to be comprised of 2 members of the city council and 1 member of the planning commission, and refer to the committee the question of what scope of subject matter it would like to review and bring an update of the latter back to council. 3, refer to the planning commission the question of what scope of potential subject matter related to transportation it could review and bring an update back to council. 4, provide options for expansion of the audit committee following referral of the question by staff. Let me strike 4, let me modify that, and I'll start over. 4, provide options for expansion of the audit committee following referral of the question to a subcommittee formed here, comprised of Vice Mayor Chow and Councilmember Moore, and bring an update back to council. 5, refer to the Housing Commission the question of what scope of subject matter it has been undertaking and what subject matter it would like to review and bring an update back to council. So that's my motion, and I tried to address the issues that I heard expressed here in a way that we could bring it back at a future date that would advance the conversation and the requests here. Now, I do want to make a comment with regard to the Planning Commission referral. I think that, in fact, the Planning Commission already is empowered to review transportation. I believe that this question has been asked by at least one individual member of our Planning Commission to our staff. And I believe that the answer is in the affirmative. It is actually in their charter to review issues related to transportation and transit for our city. So that's the structure. I think where we can, we should refer to our existing commissions these questions. And we may find that it is within their charter already to review these, and we need to empower accordingly once we have more thoroughly considered these questions. But for me, I think it's important that we have codification of the Economic Development Committee. I'd really like to see that in the municipal code because it's been meeting on a regular, semi-regular basis at times for the last 15 years or more, and we simply don't have anywhere in the municipal code that describes what it does, or how it's formed, and what its composition is, as well as how that composition is chosen. And then everything else, I think that we can direct staff to make the follow-ups and give us our information that's being requested here. Councilmember Moore, your hand is raised.
Thank you, Mayor Paul. I was actually hoping that you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me. I'm sorry about that. Can I get a second for this motion before we open this up for further discussion? Councilmember Willie.
I second.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So Councilmember Moore, you seem to be proposing perhaps an amendment to that motion.
Yes, I was thinking that because you have served much longer on the audit committee, that you would be much better to serve on the subcommittee. Thank you.
Do you mean rather than yourself or rather than Vice Mayor Chow?
Rather than myself. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'll go ahead and modify that the motion to reflect that. And Councilmember Willie, are you amenable to that as the seconder of the motion to substitute out Councilmember Moore for myself under part 4 of my motion?
Absolutely, as long as you're not overworked.
I'm always overworked, but thank you. I only have 9 more months of this joy. So let me go to Vice Mayor Chow, followed by Councilmember Wei.
So a question for that subcommittee. So would that consider long-range financial planning and where that should be reside as part of the subcommittee?
Yes, that would actually be part of the activity. Although, let me pause here and make a referral of a question to our city attorney. Chris, so Councilmember Moore and I sit on the audit committee. Now, if we're referring this question, maybe, I'm not sure how we would kind of form this out. I mean, I think we would parse it out by basically saying, how can we potentially expand this subcommittee? I'm sorry, not this subcommittee, but the subject matter of the committee. I'm just trying to make sure that we're not creating a majority communication if we were to form this subcommittee and, commit to having no communication with the other member of the audit committee from our city council. Would that work under the legal requirements in your estimation?
So yes, as long as the ongoing business of the committee is kept entirely separate from the discussion of changes to its scope. So you would obviously not be allowed to communicate with Councilmember Moore regarding anything related to changes in scope of the committee. But as long as discussion of those two subject matters were kept separate, that would not create any issues under the Brown Act.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that. Let me speak also to Councilmember Willie's point. So yes, actually, I think it would probably take a fairly considerable amount of time. I actually suggested Councilmember Moore and Vice Mayor Chow for the specific reason that they seem to be the people among our council members that are interested in other subject matter for the audit committee. I'm fine with keeping the audit committee as is and just having the audit committee complete its required duties under the municipal code. So, if the exercise I don't want to undertake is, spending a certain amount of time on the subcommittee only to have it brought back, where I think we might eventually realize that really Councilmember Moore should have just been on the subcommittee in the first place, rather than just kind of, spending that time and then bringing it back and then finding out you have, all sorts of inputs, which is great, but I think it might be more efficient just to, have you on the subcommittee to begin with. So that's my thought there. And so, I do see you have your hand raised. And so, Councilmember Moore, did you want to speak to that? Because I did specifically, indicate your participation in my comment there.
Thank you. I still don't have any intention to participate because I disagree with the suggestion of removing the duties that the audit committee already has. One of the problems the audit committee has is that they haven't actually been performing their duties and getting the monthly reports and going over them. And that's why there haven't been as many meetings each year as there should be. So I don't support the motion to pull the duties away from that committee, and so I don't want to work on the subcommittee to perform a function that I disagree with, and unfortunately that makes my vote on the whole motion I can't support it because there's one part in there which I disagree with, but thank you.
Okay, let me read back that part of the motion so you're clear in your mind. I stated provide options for expansion of the audit committee following referral of the question to a subcommittee formed here comprised of Vice Mayor Chow and Mayor Paul now, and bring an update back to council. So it wouldn't be a contraction of the duties under this motion.
Well, under when I look at the report from staff, it is to form the fiscal strategic committee taking roles that the audit committee already has onto it. So if you're thinking of expanding the audit committee role, I think that what it already has as its charter is adequate. We just need to do our jobs.
So can I speak?
Well, let me speak back to Councilmember Moore's point, and I will call on you next, Vice Mayor Chow. So Councilmember Moore, understand that the motion on the table is not staff's report. It's not staff's recommendation. I understand the concern might be that, there might be an imputation of staff's will upon, what we pass in the motion, but the face of the language does not speak to what staff is suggesting with regard to the Fiscal Strategic Committee. Like I said, I'm in agreement that, we should have the audit committee perform the functions that the audit committee is supposed to perform under the municipal code, which it, needs to, get to the point where it's there, instead of, taking the Fiscal Strategic Committee, which we don't know specifically how that's defined. Although I would say it's probably significantly different from what staff is suggesting in their report, in terms of reviewing things like monthly reports that are, again, required under the municipal code to be reviewed by audit committee. So, it's something that I just want to clear up any kind of, kind of stated misconception with regard to the idea that that part of the motion is actually a retraction of the duties of the audit committee. I understand that you may disagree with what the staff was describing, or what even Vice Mayor Chow was describing as, some ideas of how to reform audit and or fiscal strategic and or, something else. But my motion was as stated. So it would be an exploration of potential expansion of audit committee scope. I'm going to go ahead and go to Vice Mayor Chow at this point, and Councilmember Way, and then Councilmember Willie. Vice Mayor Chow.
Thank you. So first of all, staff really has done a phenomenal job summarizing everything and try to propose a potential structure, although it may not capture what we want. I agree with Councilmember Moore that the roles currently listed in the staff recommendation are already part of audit committee and actually should remain there. And then in my mind, the role of this subcommittee is actually expanding it, probably even to include the things I thought Fiscal Strategic Committee should have done, which is long-term planning that the city doesn't do. And I hope that this subcommittee could be empowered to explore expanding audit to include to maybe become a finance committee that does not only audit, because after the internal audit is done, then we could have more time for long-term planning for the city. And that should be part of the overall plan. I'm hoping that the subcommittee will be empowered to explore as an expansion of the audit's function.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor Chow. Let's go to Councilmember Way.
Thank you, Mayor Paul. I just wanted, you spoke really fast on the Economic Development Committee to codify it. And if I remember correctly, you said 2 council members and 3 business people from 3 different fields.
Yes, that's correct.
And do we want to include our staff, which we have Economic Development Officer? And I do believe, our chamber really represents our businesses, and they do yeoman's job in promoting businesses. So one representative from the chamber probably would be really great to have on that committee. That are just my questions.
Yeah, no, thank you, Councilmember Way. I really appreciate those questions. My expectation actually, I shouldn't say expectation, I should say my prediction. My prediction is that the members of the public will probably come from chamber. But I don't want to foreclose any other members of the public, right? Because our business community is expansive beyond the breadth of the chamber membership and the board. So if I had to predict, I would predict that most, if not all, of the people that we select, because of their background and because of what they do within the community, would have at least some kind of strong relationship with the Chamber of Commerce. Now, that being said, I do note that our commissions and committees, they're all staffed. But that doesn't mean that the commission or committee members are comprised of staff. So that's how I would envision the Economic Development Committee. Yes, absolutely, Tina Kapoor as our Economic Development manager would indeed, I would think that would be the logical choice to staff this Economic Development Committee. And I probably should have made that explicit, but I'll do that right now. I mean, I absolutely, support that notion of having the person that is from our staff hired specifically for that particular job to, staff this, particular committee. So thank you for those comments and questions. Councilmember Willie, oh, did you have a follow-up at all, Councilmember Way, before
Oh, no, that's it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councilmember Willie?
Yeah, so I do like the way you have phrased a motion where you're at certain places, saying ask the commissions to review these thoughts and charters and come back to us. And I would kind of expand that although we have our thoughts, we're residents of Cupertino, so hopefully, we are very aware of the community here. But the commission is a real good connection with the community. And so I would think asking them to simply weigh in on their respective charters, like the Housing Commission, we had one of them speaking tonight, and what they feel is the shortcoming, which I concur with. And each commission then can come back and let us know how they feel they can better address that aspect, that charter of that commission. And I would even suggest that, once a year they're asked to weigh in. The individuals that are on the committee change, they bring expertises and things of that nature, and we could be missing out on a lot of these advantages. So I'll say that. I really appreciate Councilman Moore's thoughts on that committee, the audit. I would really like to be sure that we keep that continuity and her passion, and we don't dilute or draw away from that. So I would I'm not sure how to reword the motion, but I would hope that we could do a friendly amendment to be sure that we keep that intact. And I'll leave it at that.
Great. Thank you for your thoughts on this, Councilmember Willie. I mean, I'd be happy to break it out into a separate motion as well, so that we can, have unanimity for the rest of the motion. But let me check in with Councilmember Moore briefly. Councilmember Moore, so based upon the discussion, are you still opposed to that part 4 of my motion? Should we break that out still?
Well, I would like to actually reply back to Councilmember Willie, and I think for me, having served on the Environmental Review Committee and put a lot of work into that to make myself as useful as possible in that role, I'm frankly offended by what's gone on this evening with regards to retooling it, and so that's troublesome. And then also with audit, again, I specifically asked to be on audit for a second year to continue digging into the budget and the policies to be able to make useful comments there. And the committee already has a lot on its plate. I thought it was very interesting what's actually in the municipal code for its roles. And we've been going over that and working to make sure that we're actually performing the duties, and then asking the questions about oversight. Do we have a chilling effect with the composition that shows up at the meetings? Those types of questions. So I think, to Councilmember Willie's points, that I think it is really important that we speak to the people who are on these committees and get their actual input rather than retooling what they're doing, because from my perspective, I would like to have been asked, what do I think, rather than being told in a staff report how staff would like to rework committees that we're serving on and be mindful and respectful of the people who are serving on those committees, their time and energy that they're spending. And with regards to the Sustainability Commission, they have the Climate Action Plan, they had the REACH codes, they already have a ton of work. That climate action plan, it's over 400 pages long, and it's got an update. I don't see there's any way that they can take on the specialization of understanding the CEQA documents along with that, because they've got so much there, and objective standards can go into a climate action plan, all sorts of things. So I think it needs to be, it can't be done on the fly. We're going to rework these committees that have such meaty substance already. Thank you.
Okay, and so when you talked about the Environmental Review Committee and you indicated that you had some reservation about retooling it, so is that to say that you want to keep our staff members?
No, it means that I wouldn't take the task in the ERC and go pile it on top of what sustainability has, or work it, because there's enough for those CEQA documents are, trust me, there's plenty of information.
So that's that's not in the motion, right? That was, I think, a comment made by somebody else, right? That's not the suggestion of the motion to kind of do anything with Environmental Review Committee and the
Yes, Mayor. And with regards to scope of the ERC, it's so that, because hopefully you've got people who are passionate about looking at CEQA documents, to expand the scope so we can look at other ones. Because as you've probably noted on the schedule, so many of those meetings have been canceled. I think maybe 2, 3 last year at the most. We're hardly ever meeting.
Okay, so here's what I would suggest, and Vice Mayor Chow, I will go back to you before I ask for a vote. I would suggest, and this I guess harkens back to Councilmember Willie's comment with regard to going back to the commissions and committees and asking what they want. Let's try this, because we have a few committees and commissions that are kind of driven largely internally to ask for potential modified or expanded scope. So you've got the Environmental Review Committee, that's in there. We've got Audit Committee. That possibility of expansion is also in the motion. With regard to transportation, while it's true that nobody from Planning Commission spoke this evening with regard to, perhaps adding transportation explicitly into the charter, we did have members of the public ask about that, and we did have comments from our city council. So my suggestion would be, rather than going to all of the commissions and committees and undertaking that exercise, that we try this out, with this motion, because it's a packetizable, follow-up that actually has been affirmatively asked for. And so, let's see how that works out, and hopefully it can come back timely. I would really like to see the Economic Development Committee not be delayed any longer. I don't think we need to ask staff to do any more studies on this. I mean, the way I designed this motion is basically, look, this is not codified. It's been meeting for at least 15 years. Let's codify it. Let's get people, populating it, and let's move on with the, the business of the city insofar as it's concerned. So that would be my suggestion. And Councilmember Moore, I'm not quite hearing whether taking item 4 out and putting it into a separate motion would garner your support at this point for the primary motion, or if you're okay with the entirety of the motion as it exists now.
Excuse me, Mayor Paul, will you please repeat item 4 as you recall it?
Sure. I have it written down. So this is that part of the motion. Provide options for expansion of the Audit Committee following referral of the question to a subcommittee formed here comprised of Vice Mayor Chow and Mayor Paul, and bring an update back to council. So okay, nothing would actually, yeah.
I can support that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Moore. And Vice Mayor Chow?
First a question, and then I have a friendly amendment. The question is whether the referral for Housing Commission to consider options include the social services.
It can refer, let me read you that part of the motion. Refer to the Housing Commission the question of what scope of subject matter it has been undertaking and what subject matter it would like to review, and bring an update back to council. So to answer your question, Vice Mayor Chow, that update back to council, when it revisits us, you can specifically ask for the social services to be, discussed. You can do your diligence, with the.
I would like So I would like to propose a friendly amendment for the housing part to specifically mention such as social services so that they know this is part of things they could consider. Because otherwise they might not even know that they can consider something beyond housing. And second, I would like to propose that for Library Commission, we also give referral for the Library Commission to consider expanding their role to facilitate and recommend the council on community engagement methods. That's my
Okay.
friendly amendment.
Okay, Vice Mayor Chow, I'm a little bit leery right now of accepting the friendly amendment with regard to the library portion of it, because I simply think that we don't have enough time, and I don't have enough time to absorb it right now, and I haven't heard comment on it. So I would like to defer that to another discussion, but I went ahead and modified the part 5 of the motion so that the entirety of part 5 now reads, refer to the Housing Commission the question of what scope of subject matter it has been undertaking, and what subject matter it would like to review, and include consideration of social services and bring an update back to council. So I'll go ahead and amend that in the motion and ask Councilmember Willie if you would second that as the seconder of the original motion.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
So you want to, but adding library, they will just explore the option, right?
You know, Vice Mayor Chow, I would like us to go ahead and consider that at a future time. I think it's a little bit late at this point. I did say at the outset that I wanted to contain this to 45 minutes. We're now a little bit more than 5 minutes past that. And we have only 4 minutes until our regular council meeting starts.
I did mention that in my comment.
I didn't catch that, and I apologize for that. And so, you know, rather than having a drawn out discussion at this point,
and I mentioned this in December when we had the study session too.
Okay.
So I feel very disrespected.
Okay, I apologize for that, and you know, I sincerely hope that you have this opportunity to, you know, to you know, navigate these aspects as well. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and table that and ask that you bring that back when we come back. Katie, you have your hand raised. Did you want to make a comment on something?
Just 2 really quick points of clarification. Oh, sorry. When you said refer to the ERC, the question of what they would like to have in their scope, is that after we make the changes to the membership?
I'd like you to bring back the modification of the municipal code. So that is going to have to be read in a first reading and a second reading. I would hope in a first reading, you would have enough time to reference to the Environmental Review Committee, the question of the expanded scope. So pragmatically speaking, we have a member of the ERC on our council. I would say ask Councilmember Moore specifically what the expanded scope, you know, that she would like to see is, if you want to ask staff members, you know, and any other member of the ERC, that's fine. But bring back that list at the same time you're bringing back
the membership change. Got it.
Modifications to the municipal code. Yes.
Okay, so one round of modifications to the meeting code and that one. Okay, and then for your part 4, does that include a dissolving of the Fiscal Strategic Plan Committee, or is that to be determined by the subcommittee as well?
Right now, the Fiscal Strategic Committee is on hold. I would ask that it remain on hold. Okay. Then that could be a follow-up item together with Vice Mayor Chow's request for the additional commission's consideration. So, you know, hopefully we can turn that around in, you know, in a relatively efficient amount of time. I would say 2 months, maybe 3.
So is the hope that they still codify it, or just so that staff knows how to prioritize their time?
I didn't mention the Fiscal Strategic Committee, so it's
right. But in the work program, it has it being codified. So we're just seeing, is this a change in direction to kind of just hold on making?
Keep Fiscal Strategic Committee on a hold.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's not in the motion. Thank you very much. Madam City Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote for the motion?
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Wei?
Aye.
Councilmember Willie?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow?
Aye.
Mayor Paul?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, we're at 6:44, and so I'm just going to hold on to this and start our meeting timely at 6:45 for the regular meeting. And so we'll take an early break on our regular meeting momentarily. Okay, welcome everybody. Right now it is 6:45 p.m. on Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. This is the regular meeting of the Cupertino City Council. Madam City Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call?
Councilmember Moore,
Here.
Councilmember Way,
Here.
Councilmember Willie,
Here.
Vice Mayor Chow,
Here.
Mayor Paul.
Here. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Our first section in our agenda is ceremonial matters and proclamations. Today, item 1 is a proclamation supporting the United Nations Human Rights Council resolution recognizing access to a healthy and sustainable environment as a universal right. And I'm very pleased today to be able to welcome a couple of members of the Model United Nations Club from Cupertino High School. And so let me see or refer to our city clerk. Madam City Clerk, did our students that were going to be here, are they attending now? I think you had given me the names of Vanch Mathur and Caroline Chung. I see Caroline. Welcome, Caroline. And Vanch, you're here as well. Great. And so we have a member of the staff of Congressman Ro Khanna as well, Tom Pike, is here to accept the proclamation in joint. And so let me give a little bit of bandwidth and time first to our students and then to our congressional representative. Vanch or Caroline, would you like to say a few words, either regarding your Model UN organization or the proclamation or both?
Thank you for having us. And yes, we would be honored to speak on both the proclamation as well as a little bit about our club. So thank you for the introduction. And my name is Carolyn, and this is Vanch, and we are from Cupertino High School's Model United Nations team. And we are honored on behalf of our community to accept the City of Cupertino's initiative to support the United Nations resolution declaring that the access to a healthy and sustainable environment is a universal human right. And through gaining a greater global awareness through Model UN, I have recognized that climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time. And it is wonderful to see the collaboration and commitment to achieve a cleaner environment for all. And now I will hand it over to Vanch.
Thanks, Carolyn, and thank you everyone for allowing us to come here today and speak a bit about this resolution. I absolutely would echo everything that Carolyn mentioned, at least speaking from the perspective of someone who's just in this activity. Participating in Model United Nations has definitely been my most enriching educational and advocational opportunity. But you know, sometimes Model UN just feels a bit too much like a model, like a simulation. After only advocating in a classroom of 20, 30 students and nowhere beyond that, I've heard from myself and a few other students from our high school that it's very often tough to feel like we have a voice, tough to advocate for something like international human rights. But the passing of this resolution has proven to me, to our Model UN team at Cupertino High, and to thousands of other teenagers that even though it is tough, that it's possible. The UN itself reported that 100,000 children, teenagers like me and my friend Carolyn, work to make this happen. And that gives us hope. A healthy and sustainable environment, which I feel so privileged to have as a student living in the Bay Area, is now a human right. Needless to say, that's a step toward greatness in combating climate change and assisting climate change affected communities. And I can't even begin to express the joy and feeling of accomplishment that our folks at Cupertino High now feel that we can finally say, as we do in Model United Nations, resolution passed.
Wonderful.
So, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Vanch, and thank you, Carolyn. Well, let's turn our attention to Tom Pike of Congressman Ro Khanna's office. Welcome, Tom. Did you want to say a few words?
Sure, just a couple more points. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as Carolyn and Vansh said, this UN resolution recognizes access to a healthy and sustainable environment as a universal human right. And such a resolution provides political impetus for governments across the world to take action to protect those human rights. And by making this proclamation here today, the city of Cupertino not only shows that it stands with that effort, but that it will act with those human rights in mind going forward. So on behalf of Representative Rocana, I'd like to thank you, the Cupertino City Council, for taking this action, and also thank our model UN student representatives, Carolyn and Vanch, for carrying that message forward. So thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tom. And so let's go ahead at this time on behalf of our city council and community. I do want to give credit where credit is absolutely due. We wouldn't be able to put this forward without the community support that we have, and we wouldn't be able to put this forward without a hardworking council that really gets into the details and really sees these types of opportunities and puts forward these initiatives. So thank you very much. This has been a wonderful confluence of opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and ask that our staff members turn off their cameras so that we can get a quick screenshot of the proclamation, those accepting from our local high school, Cupertino High School, as well as from Congressman Rocana's office, Tom Pike. So thanks very much. And hopefully we do have the tessellated 9-square configuration here. All right, wonderful. Thank you again so very much. And, I just want to close by saying on behalf of our council that these really are not empty words. As, the community can see, we are definitively taking action behind these types of measures and trying to bring as clean of an environment to everyone as possible. So thanks again for being with us as we kind of traverse this journey on this evening. And take care. Have a great night. So we're on to item number 2. And with regard to another sector of our community that people are very much concerned about, public safety, we're very happy to be able to host our sheriff's captain for the West Valley substation. Captain Ricardo Urena is here tonight. I know that a lot of people in our community are deeply concerned with regard to security issues. And, I know it goes without saying, but we are extremely fortunate to be living in the West Valley and to be living in Cupertino. And there are definitely, travails and challenges that we face. But relatively speaking, we're actually quite fortunate. We have a wonderful relationship with our sheriff's office, and particularly with the West Valley substation and its tradition of excellent captains being assigned to the West Valley substation. So Captain Urena this evening, through our city manager as well, because typically, and I just want to make a really quick aside. I want to thank City Manager Jim Troop for kind of adding a bit of a shortcut to our agendas to indicate who on our staff is going to be providing each of these updates and staff presentations. So in case any members of the public were wondering about this addition, or if you noticed that in some of our agenda items that actually identifies who among the staff is going to be providing the presentation, that is an innovation provided by our city manager, Jim Troop. So without any further delay there, though, from the aside, Captain Urena, thank you so much for being with us here this evening. I know that this is a very statistically and data-driven community, and so they would love to have all the information that you have to provide, as well as any suggestions for what we can be doing and how we can be collaborating together, not just with the Sheriff's Office and the West Valley Substation, but with each other and within the community and with our staff to help to optimize the public safety concerns of our citizenry. Captain Urena, welcome.
Thank you, Thank you, Mayor Paul, Vice Mayor Chow, members of the council, city staff, residents. I hope this evening finds everyone well. Captain Rich Urena, I am your Chief of Police for the city of Cupertino. I really am honored to be here with you this evening to discuss police services in the city. And so without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the presentation here. Okay. Let's jump right into it. We'll start off with our mission statement of the West Valley Patrol Division. The mission of the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office West Valley Patrol Division is to provide professional, responsive, and effective law enforcement services to the communities we serve. We strive to enhance public safety through proactive problem solving and community awareness. Our agenda for this evening, as the mayor indicated, we are data driven in the Sheriff's Office, so we'll be talking about some crime statistics so residents can see how last year, what the difference really was between last year and the year before. And we also have some 10-year data we'll be sharing. We'll talk a little bit about residential burglaries, vehicle burglaries, robberies, response times. In other words, how quickly are deputies responding to your call for service when you make that call? We'll certainly look at that data. Some new initiatives and programs we're working on, as well as our new psychiatric emergency response team, what we call the PERT team. I think folks will find that that program is extremely valuable in our community. And then we'll talk about some community programs that we're involved in. And then lastly, have plenty of time for some questions and answers. Let's jump right into it here. So what we're looking at here are our crime categories on the left. Let's see if I can use a pointer here. Some crime categories on the left. The column here is the year 2020, 2021, and then the difference percentage, whether it was an increase or a decrease in crime as we compare 2020 to 2021. So the first category we're looking at is robbery. We did have 18 robberies last year compared to 21 the year before. That was a 14% decrease. We'll discuss a little bit more about robberies in a few future slides. Residential burglaries, 79 this past year. That was an 18% decrease from the year before. We'll also talk about some residential burglaries here in the next few slides. Commercial burglaries, it was a 28% decrease. In 2020, we did see a small spike there. And the reason for that was because what we noticed was, if folks recall, we had this thing called the pandemic that started in March of 2020. And with that, we noticed crime trends change a little bit. And so we did experience a small spike in folks breaking into some commercial establishments. Most of the establishments were closed. And so folks took the advantage of just taking whatever they could from those businesses. So that's why we saw a small increase in 2020. And then this past year, a 28% decrease. Vehicle burglaries, 176 compared to the year before, 188. Again, that's a 6% decrease. Grand theft, interesting category here, grand theft. Grand theft is the stealing of anything that's worth $951 and up, right? So whether it's a bicycle that's worth over $950, whether it's some electronic, an iPad, so on and so forth. The reason for the significant increase here of 53% is directly related to the catalytic converter situation we're dealing with region-wide. And a catalytic converter essentially is a device that's installed in our vehicles that really filters some of the emissions before it goes out through the muffler and out to the outside of the vehicle. And so crooks have found out that these devices are extremely valuable to sell. There are certain certain metals within the catalytic converter that make it extremely valuable. And so we did experience a total of 93 catalytic converter thefts. So out of these 167, what we're looking at is 93 of these being catalytic converter thefts. So a person must really crawl under the vehicle and use a tool to remove the catalytic converter. The crimes are mostly occurring during the overnight hours and targeting hybrid type vehicles. And the reason for the hybrids is because they have these two power sources, right? And so hybrids have an electric motor, and therefore the catalytic converters are used less frequently to process the pollutants. And what happens is they leave the metals inside the converter less corroded and more valuable. So if you have a hybrid out there, well, really any car, but specifically a hybrid, we're recommending folks park in garages, in your own garage, restrict access to the underneath carriage of the vehicle, because these crooks do have to slide under your vehicle to be able to cut the catalytic converter. We're recommending folks park in a well-lit area, highly visible, or a highly trafficked area. If you're out and about, say you're shopping, please park in an area that's well lit. Install an aftermarket device that are out there. Certainly you can find a lot of devices that can be installed aftermarket. To have your catalytic converter stolen, it takes about, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. The cost is up to $3,000 or $4,000 to replace it. The thieves do get about $200 or $300 per device, right? 30 seconds of work, $200 or $300. That's a pretty good chunk of change for the thieves. And so we are working on curbing this. I can say that we made significant arrests that are folks coming into the city, again, stealing these items. And so we'll continue to work on that. Auto theft, that's the stealing of a vehicle, the entire vehicle. We did see a 16% increase. And the reason for that was folks are leaving their key fob. And I think we all know what a key fob is, right? They're leaving a key fob, excuse me, in their car or near their car. And the crooks are finding the key fobs or just testing the car, that little button where you start the vehicle, excuse me. And they're taking advantage of what we're doing with the key fob. So our recommendation is, please, if you have a key fob, don't leave it in the car, take it into the home with you, put it in a place that's a significant distance from that vehicle. But again, that's the number one way that these crooks are stealing our vehicles. Vandalism, we did see a 25% increase. And that's defacing, destroying, or damaging property. It does kind of fit different categories. Some of the examples are if somebody spray paints like graffiti on a wall somewhere, that certainly would be vandalism. If somebody throws a rock and breaks, your vehicle's front windshield, for example, or side windshield, that's vandalism. If somebody throws a rock at your home, breaks a pot or something of value, again, that's considered vandalism. And so we did have a small increase in that, 25%. Identity theft, 6% decrease. Domestic violence, a 17% decrease. Assaults, these are all types of assaults, 26% decrease. And then our sex crimes were flat. Talk a little bit about residential burglaries here. What we're looking at here is really a 10-year graph of our burglaries in the city of Cupertino. What you notice is we had a spike back in 2015, and then it kind of went down a little bit, leveled off. Then here we are in 2021, this past year, with 79. And make no mistake, 79 is 79 too many, certainly. And so we strive to work hard at investigating these. We have made some arrests. It is a difficult crime to investigate, but we use all of our available technology to try to investigate these incidents. Won't get into the details, but I will say that a lot of the things that you see on some of the shows with DNA and things like that, we do utilize those systems, if you will. But again, it is 79 too many. We're working on trying to curb that. This pie chart here is very important for residents to understand. So what we're looking at here is 49%, right, of these burglaries are occurring on multiple days, meaning that the time of the day and the day are unknown. And so what this indicates to us is when we're going on vacation, or taking an extended weekend somewhere, the crooks are breaking into our homes. So it's important, it's extremely important to let someone know, a neighbor, a trusted neighbor. We have a patrol check request form you can fill out if you go to our website. Let us know you'll be gone for a few days, and we can certainly drive by and check up on our residents there. And so this particular area is an area we continue to see in other jurisdictions as well. The early morning hours between 12 and 7 a.m., 18%, right? During the day, which is typically the busiest, this is typically the area where we see a significant number. So I would say that out of these 49%, you could probably add 20 to this 19 and make it 39% here. Because even though we don't know what time of day or what day these are occurring, we have a strong suspicion they're occurring during the day. We're very vigilant overnight, the overnight hours. Deputies are driving around all over the city at night, and any vehicle that's out there that's suspicious, we're going to look at it closely, and the crooks know that. And so they try to utilize the day to kind of blend in and look like any other vehicle and then commit these puns. And then the evening time, this is between 5 and midnight, 14%. Vehicle burglaries is something that we saw a significant increase back in 2019. And so again, this is a 10-year chart, 2012 through 2021. In 2019, we had 464 vehicle burglaries in this city. And so as the year ended, we were putting in place measures to combat this number, because for the previous 3-4 years, we had seen this increase. And so even though we did work on trying to mitigate some of these thefts back in 2019, there was certainly a lot more we could have done. And then again, in March of 2020, we saw COVID, which just made a significant difference in vehicle burglaries. And the main reason for that was really because these occur mostly in our shopping centers. And because the shopping centers were closed, the thieves didn't have that opportunity to victimize residents. And again, this past year, 176, which is less than the year before, which did surprise us a little bit in looking at the data. Because again, keep in mind, we weren't really open in 2020. And so the thieves didn't get an opportunity to victimize residents. Then this past year, it was less than 2020. As I mentioned, most of these are occurring in our commercial establishments, our shopping centers, in the parking lots, 67% of these. It is why we spend a majority of our patrol time in and around some of the shopping centers. I don't mind telling you that we do have deputies that are sometimes in a covert type operation, meaning they're in a vehicle that's not distinguishable as a police vehicle, perhaps in civilian street clothes. I can tell you we had 10 vehicles today. I know because I had spoken to a person who works in a specific task force who was in and around Cupertino today. And it is those kinds of efforts that are going to help us continue to bring these numbers down. So some of the tips for residents is, if you're going to a shopping center, again, given this total here, 67%, please be mindful of your surroundings. Again, please park in an area that's well lit, turn on your vehicle alarm. If you see any suspicious vehicles or persons near your vehicle, don't leave your vehicle, drive to another area, park somewhere else, and call us. And the most important advice I can give folks is, don't leave anything of value in your car. Even if it's a bag that has nothing in it, if the thieves look inside your car and see a bag, they're going to assume there's value in the bag, and they're going to break your window and take the bag. So please help us. Don't leave anything of value in your vehicle. And if you see anyone suspicious out there or any vehicles, give us a call. Robberies. Robberies really are are what we call a person crime. They're very dangerous. These are incidents where the thieves are using force or fear to take property from us, from residents, right? And so an example is if you're sitting at a park bench and you have your purse or bag next to you, and somebody comes up with a handgun, a firearm, and says, "Give me your bag, give me your purse," well, I'm hoping folks will go ahead and do what that thief is telling them to do, right? Give them the bag, give them the purse. That's considered a robbery, right? That's a significant crime. On the other hand, if you're sitting at the park bench and you have your bag, your purse next to you, and you turn to your left, and then all of a sudden you look to your right and your purse or bag's gone, it's no longer there, that's considered a theft. That's not a robbery, right? So the robbery is more this personal crime. And as I mentioned, that is a significant crime, and we utilize a lot of resources to make sure that whoever commits these robberies are brought to justice. And so this past year, we did see 18 of these crimes in the city. And to drill down a little bit on the data here, we did not have any bank robberies this past year. I think it's been a few years since we've had bank robberies. We had 6 incidents where somebody was fearful and therefore gave the item to the thieves. We had 10 that included snatching and grabbing purses from vehicles, no home invasions, no pharmacy takeovers, and we did have 2 shoplifters that turned into robberies simply because the employee tried to stop the shoplifter, and then the struggle ensued where it turned the otherwise theft into a robbery. Of the 18 we had this past year, 11 did not involve a weapon, 7 did. And of the 18 that we had this past year, 13 resulted in arrests. So there are 5 of these still outstanding that our detectives are working on, but 13 arrests out of 18 is pretty good. This is extremely important for me. I think we would all agree that when you dial 911, you certainly want to have an officer or deputy there as quickly as possible. And so what we're looking at here is our average response times for 2019 through 2021. A priority 1 type call here, which has a target time of 5 minutes, is really a life-threatening type situation, right? So what we're talking about is shootings, assaults, robberies, but also calls such as the missing person that's at risk. Perhaps it's a toddler, perhaps it's an elderly person who's at risk for harm if we don't get there quickly and figure out what's going on. So these are typically when you see us driving with our lights and siren, so we can get there as quickly as possible. And so those are priority 1. Our priority 2 type calls really are, there's no imminent threat to life or property, right? So an example of a priority 2 type call would be a home alarm, right? You leave, you go to dinner, and your residential home alarm is turned on, and for whatever reason it goes off. That would be considered a priority 2 call for us. And we certainly want to get there before the 9-minute marker. Those are the most common. Certainly if you came home and saw somebody running away from your home, carrying something, would also be a priority 2 call. Something that just occurred that requires our immediate attention, but there's no life-threatening situation involved. And then our priority 3 calls are those that are what we call cold type cases, cold crimes. You wake up in the morning, you go outside to your vehicle, and somebody had smashed the window and took property from you. And that's a 20-minute response time. And what you'll see is that we've been meeting our response times every year, which is good. We certainly want to be responsive to those requests that come in to us. And it looks like we've been doing that every year here. Some of the new initiatives and programs that we have and we're working on is body-worn cameras. So every deputy that's working in Cupertino has a body-worn camera. Every contact that is made is recorded, both in the vehicle and in person, right? So the vehicles have cameras, deputies have body-worn cameras. If there is a complaint or something that needs to be investigated, we use that footage to review the incident. Every single use of force incident out there that we're involved in goes through a very, very detailed review process, which ends with me reviewing the body-worn camera and reading the reports. So if at any point a resident has any concerns about any contact, please feel free to reach out to us. We soon will be having online incident reporting. So right now, if somebody steals, say, your front license plate or steals your bicycle, you do have to contact our office so we can take a report. In the future, here at the end of the year, we're hoping you'll be able to go online and fill out a report if a resident would like to do that. We're also working on finalizing our customer satisfaction survey cards. So when a deputy responds to your home for a report, we'll be able to give you a document where you can scan the QR code and give us feedback. We're always looking to improve our services. We're working on a new records management system, as well as the new computer-aided dispatch system, which will come online, I'm told, at the end of the year. And we're hoping that this will give us more data points and be able to increase our performance out in the field. And the last thing here is our Psychiatric Emergency Response Team, our PERT team, has been working since January of this past year, last year, 2021, and they have been extremely invaluable in their performance. Investigating crime in Cupertino, I just wanted to share some of the task forces and groups that are involved in investigating crime, any crime that occurs in the city of Cupertino. We do have patrol deputies that are out there, 34 that are dedicated to the city of Cupertino. They're the ones that respond when you call. They're the ones that document the incident. And then we have our sheriff detectives. We have a total of 40 detectives that are involved in investigating crime in Cupertino, depending on what it is. We have experts in every field, including our homicide robbery team. And then we have a deputy assigned to the Northern California Regional Intelligence Center. And this is important because there's information that comes down from both the federal, state level that is important to our community. And so we are always connected to information. The Regional Enforcement Allied Computer Team, these are folks that are involved in investigating computer-related crimes like intrusions. The Joint Terrorism Task Force, we have a deputy assigned to the task force, again, to feed information into our division to make sure that we take measures that would keep our residents safe. Then we have a Regional Auto Theft Task Force. All they do is focus on cars that are being stolen out there. Just to talk a little bit more about our Psychiatric Emergency Response Team, these are the folks that dedicate their time, full time, to responding to residents that are in crisis. We have 2 licensed clinicians and 2 deputies that team up and cover 7 days a week. And what they do is they respond to calls where residents are in crisis in need of assistance. They're experts in de-escalation tactics. They're experts in providing resources to residents. And they're experts in taking their time to make sure that the residents have the necessary resources, really, to be able to take care of themselves. They have time that they can spend with residents where a patrol deputy may not have time because it may be another call that he or she has to go to. And so in Cupertino last year, we had a total of 52 calls, 44 referrals, a total of 96 contacts. Referrals are essentially a process where a deputy goes to a call and depending on that contact is able to evaluate what's going on and then provide a referral to the PERT team where the PERT team then goes out, say the next day or at a time that's more convenient for the family. They've been extremely valuable to us. and making sure that we provide residents the best possible service out there. And community programs in the city, we have several programs that we're involved in. We have our Community and Teen Academy. We'll be launching that again here this summer. Because of COVID, we did take a pause on that. We'll have 2 this summer. And this is essentially a 12-week program, 1 evening during the week. And we take time to really show us, to show you what's behind that door, right? What makes the sheriff's office the sheriff's office? And we really lower that curtain and show you our operations in more detail. We do home security assessments. So if residents are, they're trying to purchase, say, a new home security system, and you want a deputy to come out and give you an assessment on your home, on the exterior, things that we've seen that can potentially mitigate, a burglary, we can certainly do that. Deputies are trained to do that. We offer ride-alongs. However, because of COVID, we put a little pause on that for now. Neighborhood safety presentations. If there's a neighborhood out there that would like our deputies to come out and give a presentation on crime, happy to do that. We look forward to National Night Out every year. This is a photo down here, bottom right, of last year's event. We strive to attend every community's event. And I think last year we missed a couple, but we bring in extra staff to spend time with residents. And then we have station tours here. Folks can see our substation and see how we work and the things that we do. We have Coffee with Cop events. Again, because of COVID, we paused that, but we'll be bringing that back up here in a couple of months. We're always at community events. So please, if you see us out there, please let us know how we can improve our services. And both the Neighborhood Watch program and the Block Beater program, we could certainly spend a few hours talking about both of these programs. What I will say is that we support both programs with anything and everything that we can support them with, including attending neighborhood events, giving presentations. The Neighborhood Watch program has been a huge part of our success. I can't speak enough about it. Folks that are involved in the program are really our partners in making sure that we keep Cupertino safe. The Block Beetle program is not exactly like the Neighborhood Watch program, but the folks that are part of this program share a lot of information. And one of the things we know is the sharing information keeps us engaged. It's an extremely valuable program. Tom Chin, the emergency manager for the city of Cupertino, manages both programs. And again, we could talk about both programs for the next hour or two. But if folks want more information on Neighborhood Watch program, the Block Beater program, please, you could always call me. You could email oem@cupertino.org to get more information and get involved. Lastly, our information here for our non-emergency situations, please dial 408-299-2311. Emergency, you could always dial 911, or if for whatever reason you can't dial 911 and speak to someone, you could text 911. Our dispatchers are receiving text 911 messages. Any tip that you have for the city of Cupertino, please email westvalleytips@shf, here it is, WVP tips. Again, Neighborhood Watch, Block Leader Program, OEM at Cupertino. Our administrative offices are located here in Cupertino at 1601 South De Anza Boulevard. I know that's a lot of information. I thank you all for, again, giving me a time to discuss some of these crime statistics. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Captain Urena. We'll go ahead and take some comments from members of the public at this point. Just want to have everyone understand these are under ceremonial matters and presentations, although this is just an extremely important topic to everyone. So we're going to go ahead and open this up to public comment at this point, just kind of keeping in mind the efficient usage of our time. So we'll go ahead and provide 3 minutes for members of the public, and I have hands raised from Lisa Warren and Peggy Griffin. And so please have your hand raised before Lisa concludes her remarks, and I will call on you if you do. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. This will be quick. Captain, I have a couple questions. One, I'm thrilled with the PERT thing, and it's been a year, so you're feeling good about it, so that's great. And I'm assuming it's similar to CITs, maybe better. So that's sort of a question. And thank you for the presentation too. And then oh my gosh, I had an important question. Oh, the 911 texting. Can you explain maybe in a nutshell how that works? If you are only able to text 911 without any details, are the dispatchers able to figure out where you are, because I can picture someone not being able to call, being able to text, but not being able to give a lengthy detail of what's going on. Is it still advantageous to do that? That's the question. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Lisa. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask the sheriff's captain to go ahead and reserve those answers and answer them omnibus after we have had a chance to hear from all members of the public. Peggy Griffin, you're next, followed by Govind T. And Govind, you are the last hand raised. Peggy, welcome.
Good evening, council, staff, and thank you so much, Captain Urena. Great information. I have 3 questions. One, if I call 911 from a cell phone, does it know exactly where I am, or like, is it within a cul-de-sac? How accurate is the information? And the second question is, we used to get these monthly emails or postings on Nextdoor about crime, and we no longer get that. So I was wondering what happened to that. And the third question is, if our son got ransomware and we did not even know who to contact, do we contact the sheriff's department? We knew nothing about this and went into silence for a week. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. And now we have Govind T. Welcome, Govind.
Good evening, and thank you, Captain Urena, Mayor, the council, and the staff. I have only one question. It's mainly PERT kind of, whatever you provide services in terms of PERT and similar psychological related, psychiatric related thing. Does it cover schools and community colleges? That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Govind. And so let's go ahead and bring this back to Captain Urena. Captain, did you track the questions asked by Lisa as well as Peggy and Govind?
Yes, sir. So the first question was the PERT team. Is it a team that's a little better equipped than our CIT deputies? And the answer to that question is they are. Every deputy that's out in the field in Cupertino is trained with CIT. That's critical training to make sure that we can de-escalate situations and be able to provide the resident with that necessary service. The PERT team really dives into that a lot more. They're trained folks. As a matter of fact, they're in training this week in San Diego. So they are equipped to do a lot more than what our deputies can do. Texting 911, how does that really work? Well, certainly if you can call, that's the preferred method to report anything. But we do have this text 911, and the way it works is just send, just like you send any other message on your phone. Type in 911. You could type in your message, "Hi, I need assistance." The first thing that the dispatcher is going to do is respond saying, "Can you call 911?" That's the first thing they're going to ask you. And then if you can't, they'll say, "Okay, what's your emergency?" And you can certainly communicate through that text message. We have responded to calls in the city where folks can't call for whatever reason. And so it is very easy, and there's always a dispatcher on the other end. In regards to knowing the location of a 911 call that's made with the cell phone, the answer to that is maybe. So the cell phones connect to towers, right? And so when someone makes a 911 call on their cell phone, it will connect to the nearest tower. And depending on what phone, what service, what location, we could potentially find your location. It won't be precise, but it will be within meters. And so depending on what information the dispatcher gets, we certainly would be out looking for that phone. So the answer to that question is, for the most part, yes, we do know where that phone made that call from. However, I will say though that please, if you're in the home and you have a landline and you have an emergency, use your landline if you can. That way we know exactly what address we're responding to. In regards to monthly statistics or information on Nextdoor, we don't post that kind of information frequently on Nextdoor. It is something that the city has on their website. So I would encourage folks to go to the City of Cupertino website and you could look at weekly reports there. You could also join us in the Public Safety Commission. We talk about everything that we discussed today and more. We show statistics. We talk about response times. The next Public Safety Commission meeting is the third Thursday in March, which I believe is the 17th of March. So please, or I'm sorry, the second Thursday in March. So please join us for that meeting. Ransomware issues. So if a resident has ransomware issues or any issue with their computer, whether it's an intrusion, whether somebody hacked into your computer to steal some of your information, absolutely call us. Again, we do have experts that can help us in this investigation, depending on the circumstances. So give us a call. We definitely want to document it. We want to know what's going on. If need be, we certainly will share it with our federal partners to make sure that everyone's aware of what's happening. It is critical. And then what does PERT cover, the Psychiatric Emergency Response Team, in terms of whether or not they respond to schools, colleges? They do. They do. And so what I would ask is if you have questions about the PERT team, they are more than happy to answer any question you may have. If there is a crisis at a local school or a college and they can be of service, they will be. I can tell you that they have responded to a college here nearby to provide their services. And I believe that's all the questions.
Great, thank you, Captain. Okay, so let's go ahead, in the interest of time, happy to, take brief follow-ups from council if we wish. I'll go ahead and start us off. So Captain, great array of services, like you say, we could pick one area and just winnow down to it for 2 hours. Really quick question. In terms of looking at the demographic makeup of Cupertino, are there, when you're looking at something like CIT or PERT, are there specialized language services available? Do you reach out and train for the cultural sensitivities and the various types of major demographics that are represented in our city?
Yes. So the answer to that question is absolutely. We do spend a significant amount of time training. Obviously, there's tools that we wear that requires training. There are bias-based courses that we train in. As I mentioned, there are CIT courses. There's procedural justice type courses. And so every month, there is a 10-hour training block that's built into our deputies. And so our deputies attend training every single month on anything and everything that can help us do our job better. There's a lot of legal requirements that have come down from the legislators in the last few years that have added to our training. And it is something that our staff really look forward to, the training aspect of it. So there are a lot of things that our deputies are training, and those are just some of them.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. And I'll just wrap up my comment along with that question. If there's anything that we can be doing to help, fortify that partnership, I mean, especially as regards to this question, anything we can do to keep those lines of communication open, please let us know. I think this is a community that you can obviously, work with and would like to, enhance the services wherever it can. So, no aspersions anywhere. I think there are just opportunities to keep those lines of communications going strong. Okay, so great. Let's go to Vice Mayor Chow.
Hello. Hi, two questions. First, how about phone scams? Are there a lot of them? What people should do if they feel they might have gotten this kind of phone calls? Second is neighborhood watch program. It's great to hear that it's essential, but I have heard that oftentimes a neighborhood get a designation as neighborhood watch program because enough people sign up and then nothing happened. I'm guessing some neighborhoods are more active and some are not. So what's your recommendation for people? Thank you.
Yeah, so Vice Mayor Chow, thank you for those two questions. The first question, I believe you asked about robocalls?
Phone scam, yeah.
Phone scams?
I don't know if they're robo or not.
Okay, so yeah, we have seen an explosion in scams related to phone calls, right? And so
email, yeah.
Right, what we recommend folks do is if you don't recognize that number, don't answer it. And if somebody on the other line is trying to ask for, assuming you answer it, and somebody on the other line is asking for anything personal, whether it's your name, your location, what kind of car you drive, don't answer any question that would indicate who you are. And again, if you have a phone call that just sounds suspicious, you don't know, maybe you gave too much information, give us a call. We can help you through that process. We can look into that phone number that called you. Oftentimes it's a phone number that's overseas and it's hard for us to investigate. But at the very least, we could at least document the incident so we can follow up on it. In regards to the Neighborhood Watch program, I know Tom Chin, our emergency manager's here. I don't know if Tom, you'd like to answer that question for Vice Mayor Chow?
Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Vice Mayor, for the question. We are looking to expand our use of Neighborhood Watch in this community. Neighborhood Watch is a key part of our preparedness and engagement program with our volunteer network. If you find that, if any neighborhoods in the city find that they're either designated as Neighborhood Watch and things aren't happening at the rate that they'd like, you're more than welcome to reach out to the city, either directly to me or to, and probably easiest is oem@cupertino.org. We'll be happy to arrange a Neighborhood Watch meeting and really revitalize that program in your community. Conversely, if your neighborhood doesn't have a Neighborhood Watch designation and you would like to investigate that or be a part of that, we'll be more than happy to connect you either to an existing program or start one in your community. Vice Mayor, as you know, we are trying to revamp our block leader and Neighborhood Watch programs, and we're looking forward to bringing that program forward in the near future.
Great to hear. Okay, great. Vice Mayor Chow, I'm going to go on to Councilmember Way at this point, and then we have Councilmember Willie after Councilmember Way.
Thank you, Mayor Charles. Thank you, Mayor Paul. And Captain Arena, I have the pleasure of listening to you at the Legislative Committee meeting at the Chamber for the Commercial Crime. So this is very interesting to hear about your report on all the crimes in Cupertino. And thank you. I have two questions for you. One is these statistics are just for Cupertino? If it happens in West San Jose on De Anza Boulevard, do you include that in your statistics? That's my first question. My second question is, we have a lot of residents who are very tech savvy, and they use apps like Nextdoor, Ring Nextdoor crime reports, and they get daily reports on it. Are those reports should be the same statistics as yours, or they report a broader area so it's different?
Councilmember Way, thank you for those two questions. The first question, the statistics that I shared this evening are specific to the city of Cupertino. They are city of Cupertino statistics, so it wouldn't include Saratoga, West San Jose. We're really just focusing on the city of Cupertino statistics. The second question in regards to having some tech savvy residents, no doubt. And so to answer your question, the data that we share is granular data. We have an analyst that combs through all our reports to look at all these details and really gets down to what are we looking at, what was this crime classified as, and then puts that report together. And so you will not see data like what I presented to you anywhere else. Again, we have an analyst that spends 40 hours a week looking at all these reports. And so that's why you have the data that you have. Crimereports.com, I think it's called City Protect, may not classify the crimes the way that we do here. They're looking at a broader sense. I'll give you a quick example. We may get dispatched to a residential burglary. And then when we get there, find out that, you know, the homeowner just left the front door open and there was no crime. That's common. However, if you look at crime reports or cityprotect.com, it'll say it was a burglary, when in reality it wasn't. It was dispatched as a burglary, but it wasn't a burglary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Way. Next, we have Councilmember Woolley.
Yeah, Captain Urena, great presentation. Thank you. I'll kind of touch on a question. We've got a fairly good size senior population in Cupertino. Great that we've got your deputies protecting, you know, the community. The question / comment, you know, not too many are attending, you know, tonight and hearing what's available and connecting. Perhaps it's because city council meetings aren't very entertaining, but regardless, how about periodic stops over at the senior center, especially with it, you know, kind of hopefully opening back up? I think from so many seniors that don't have family members nearby, they're kind of without a lot of comfort. But if they were to see your deputies drop by once every month or once every couple months and interact, I think they'd be much more comfortable. Oh, we need to keep an eye on stuff, and when I do have a concern, this is the guy I'm going to call. So any thoughts on that? Maybe you're already doing it. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Councilmember Willie there. So we do have presentations that are geared towards our senior citizens. Happy to give those presentations. There's a lot of good information that we share. One of the things we know is our senior citizens do get targeted by some of these folks that are calling or stopping by at their home. So happy to give that kind of presentation. I know our patrol deputies stop by at the senior center once in a while. Certainly they could stop by more frequently. I think that's a really good recommendation. Certainly something I'll pass on to my staff, but happy to set something up with the senior center on a presentation in the future.
Great, thanks very much. And finally, we have Councilmember Moore.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Paul, and thank you, Captain Urena. This is a great report. I'm so glad that it was presented. There was a question from the public, and I'm not sure if it was answered, asking about the weekly activity summary that used to be on Nextdoor. That's you can find it under a Cupertino items of interest in the attachments. It still is being presented, but that gives you the actual activity information. But I think for most people, this type of report showing us the trends is exactly what we're looking for. I think I might have spoken to you about that. I believe it's the $950 threshold for crime, and there is a proposal, Assembly Bill 1603 is proposing to drop that threshold down to $400. So it used to be $450. They increased it to $950, and now they're considering dropping it to $400. And I was just wondering if you could speak about what your experiences have been, your opinions about what happened after they increased it to $950. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question, Councilmember Moore. So back in, I believe it was November 2014, Proposition 47 was passed by the voters. What that did is it did increase the threshold for grand theft and other crimes that are related to property. And what we did see shortly after that was when we were capturing some of these thieves that were stealing things that were worth, I don't know, $600, $700, $800, you know, we can no longer take them into custody. Instead, we had to issue them citations and then let them go on their way. I don't have data in terms of how Proposition 47 has affected public safety. I will say, though, from a local level, in the past, before Prop 47, deputies would be able to take folks into custody, take them to jail, even if they would be cited out from the jail, you know, many hours later, maybe the next day. It did separate, you know, the thieves, the crooks from the area. And what we know is that did help. Unfortunately, we have arrested, caught the same thieves several times in Cupertino. And again, if we were able to separate the person, take them to jail, take them to custody, then we would remove the problem from the city. And so, though I don't have any, again, statistical data, I will say that I will leave it to the legislators to make that decision. Whatever laws are in place, we certainly will enforce those laws.
Thank you very much, Captain. Thank you, Councilmember Moore, and thank you to the public as well as the other council members for your excellent insights and questions. And so we will go on after a break. Let's go ahead and break until, let's say 6 minutes at 7:52. We will reconvene and we'll continue with the agenda at that point. All right, we'll see you then.